Good afternoon, guys. I'm just trying to make sure I'm in the frame well here. And we're just going to be waiting on Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly. Let me just sit down here. Okay. There she is. I'm going to ask her to come on now. See. Kimberly! It's kind of fun, right?
Well, you know what? I've never done these before.
I know. A lot of people like, I'm just going to share. I love that you're like, send me the link. I was like, that's the cool part about it. There's no link. You just show up on Instagram, and the moment I see you or you see me, you come to the place, and then I just ask you to come share the screen.
No, it's delightful. But the thing is, I was on my computer, so I just did it on my phone.
Yeah, there is no way to do it on the, no way. Yeah, it's kind of like Instagram's one of those things that it has less capabilities on the desktop platform. It has more capabilities on your phone. It's really just one of those things. They want you to use your phone.
It's all good.
Good. I know that you have had a full morning, so I'm not going to take tons of your time.
These dogs. I got dogs.
You got dogs. I get it. I had dogs. I no longer have any animals in the house.
No, you're done?
No, it's only because, long story. So when my husband had a kidney transplant and you left the hospital, they're like, now make sure your home is sanitized. And I was like, I have a lab who leaves sweaters all over the place. And I already was feeling overwhelmed. So I found a wonderful, loving home for him that was not my home.
Matters that they have a wonderful, loving home.
That's true. It's so funny. Okay, so there's...
You.
Say it again?
I said I might ship one out to you.
Girl, don't. No. I know, no. I've been thinking about so many questions that I wanted to ask you. And so I'm just going to start off the gate. So one, I want people to know who Kimberly is. I did a little write-up on you, or thank you so much for sending me some things too. Amazing story.
Thank you.
But my first question that I wanted to ask you was, tell me, it says that you've been, a speaker, a coach for 30 plus years.
Yes.
Yes, which is amazing.
Yeah, I feel like I've been doing this for a very, very long time, but there was a shift in what I did professionally versus ministry-wise.
Okay.
So I've actually been doing this since I was 15, come to grips with that. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it got me thinking, so we're not just sitting here telling about like all of the things that we've done. It got me thinking, what do I really want to know about Miss Kimberly Loska? Okay. And this is what, right now is a time, Kimberly, where so many people are having to start anew, start afresh, start like things they've never done before, see things the way they've never done before. What, can you go back to your early years or time when you first started doing what you know is your heart's calling? Can you go back and tell us how you felt in that moment and what it looked like?
Yeah, I mean,
I know it's a long question, but
and I think just with anything that we start to step into, it's the recognition of stepping into it, because I believe that God gives us gifts and he gives us talents. And so I have always known that I have this particular gift. And I say it's a gift because it's a gift to me to be able to be invited into somebody else's heart, into somebody else's trial, into somebody else's struggle. So it is a gift for me. And I think that, I've always had that since I was a little girl, but there was definitely a pivotal point, when the world came crashing down on me when I was about 50 years old.
Do you mind telling us a bit about that?
I'm 90 years old now.
You are 35, regressive aging.
So honestly, it was after my divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen my story, and for the viewers out there, you can look me up, Kimberly Loska, on YouTube. So you can go there and have a good time and listen from the tragedy to triumph.
Yeah.
I don't really want to get into all of that because I just want to reach into somebody's soul today.
Okay.
Kind of stop by and give encouragement and to give hope.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I would say is this: I have learned through a lot of my trials and rodeos
Mm-hmm.
that it was okay for me to speak to the little girl inside of me
Mm-hmm.
and allow her to heal from
Mm-hmm.
past wounds
Mm-hmm.
in order to set the grown woman in me free. So it has just been, I mean, I get goosebumps even just saying that, because it's so
What is that?
Yeah.
What does that look like for those of us who are listening to you and we're here? You know, it's all right to go ahead and speak to that little girl inside of you in order for the adult you to heal. Tell us, what did that look like for you? What did that kind of conversation look like? So it's out of the ether and into the real. Like, what can someone do?
I think that we have to, I call it carefronting instead of confronting.
Ooh, carefronting.
Great care to our own selves.
Mm-hmm.
We don't take very good care of ourselves on the regular. We as women especially take care of everybody else first.
Mm-hmm.
Everything first. But what I had to come to recognize is if I don't deal with the stuff in here,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm not at my best. I'm not firing all cylinders unless I really carefront those things within myself.
So kind of, sorry.
I said, and I continue to do that because I don't think that any of us have arrived yet.
Nope.
And I don't want to hang out with people who seem to feel that they have.
Yeah, that's a scary. If you've arrived, that's a sure sign that you ain't arrived. You are nowhere near where you need to be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's
so
kind of
constantly transforming. We're constantly going through metamorphosis.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing you say is you know, some things that we go through, it's even hard to admit them to ourselves. It's even hard to kind of sit in that space. And so what I'm hearing, this is my takeaway. What I'm hearing you say is, hey, Shay, go in there into those cobwebby parts of your heart, those broken parts, the doors that you don't even enter in anymore. Sit there and go through that door. You're not going to die, but if you go through that door and you sit with it and deal with whatever's there, it is going to help you in your adult real life that's interfacing with people on the outside.
Absolutely, because that's the only way you can truly be honest with anybody else, is if you're first honest with yourself. And that means get out the big full-length mirror.
Sure.
In front of it naked. You know?
Right. Right.
I mean,
which is a scary thought.
It is a scary thought, but it's like, do you really want to stay in your poopy diaper forever? I mean,
no.
You know,
like
I want to be able to be freed up so I can fully embrace. You know, we can't grab hold of anything new until we let go of that which is old. I just think that when I have come to a place, and I have to remind myself this again and again and again, it's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm doing a lot of NLP, which is the NeuroLinguistic Programming, right?
I've heard of that. Can you pause real quick before you I want you to break that down a little bit. The NLP, please.
Yes, yes. Okay, so in a nutshell, it's really building a rapport between what you know consciously and what your subconscious consciously is. It's on and on and on. The subconscious mind never turns off. So when you sleep, when you're walking, it absolutely retains everything. And it's very detailed oriented, where your conscious mind can only absorb 5 to 7 things at one time.
Sure.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
What that means for me is as I go along my life and certain things brought across my path,
sure,
I'm going to absorb what is logical, sort of right in front of me. But unknowingly, I guess, until you really awaken that part of yourself, what happens is there's certain things that are triggered in your subconscious mind. four that I'm talking about is understanding and building a bridge between what you, see logically and the feeling part of your brain. So for example, if something should happen to me and it triggers something inside of me, the subconscious sort of stands up and says, hey, you need to check that out. You got to fix that. Why does this keep coming up? And it's just spastic, you know, where the conscious mind steps in and says, well, you know, I don't have to deal with that right now. And so what you're trying to do is the subconscious is trying to soothe your brain and say, I need to get this thing settled. So you build this bridge so that I can look at it logically and go, you know, I'm being triggered about that. Allow it to rise up. Look at it for what it really is, you know, logically, not emotionally, because the subconscious is very emotional.
So let's give an example so that once somebody can see what you're saying and do it in their lives. So let me throw out an example. You tell me if this works. It's something like what I'm hearing you say. It's like, so I'm going to go to an experience in my childhood or something that makes me feel a certain way. Okay. So my father was very a non-present person in my family's life. It wasn't even that he wasn't physically there. He was there at times. He just wasn't a very engaged soul. And anytime I try to have a conversation with my father or anything, I now know as an adult, he lacks the capacity for intimacy. He doesn't know how to do it. He lacks the capacity. So I was a child who longed for connection and intimacy. And I came from a father who knew nothing about it and didn't even want to try to learn how to do it. So years ago when I first got married, and I'm married to a guy who's more quiet than me, as is typically the case. And he's more quiet than me. And I would get really like riled up or angry about something. And I'd go and tell him, this make me mad. And he would just be pretty low key and very non-responsive. And how it made me feel is it made me feel just like it was with my father.
That's correct.
And it triggered me. Like it would be like, I'd be like, this mofo, who did I marry? And so I think this is what you're saying. And what you're saying is, okay, Shay, recognize the trigger, recognize really what this is hitting, what it's making you feel. This is making you feel the lack of connection like you had with your father. What is really going on here, though? What is really going on here is a wife and a husband are having a disagreement.
Definitely. But that statement right there, the wife and the husband are having a disagreement, but that's treating a symptom and not the root.
Okay, so dive in.
So the root part about it is this: seeing yourself in the mirror, so to speak, in this moment with what you're talking about is looking at yourself. That goes to the little girl in you that says, I have a need to be seen. I have a need to be validated. I have a need to be valued.
Yeah.
I have a need to be heard. Right? So these stripes, if you will, that you see in your relationship with your husband, right? The same stripe is revealed. And my mantra is, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Sure.
So you're going to see that same stripe in all categories of your life if you look close enough.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're
where
willing,
you don't feel seen, you don't feel heard, you don't feel validated, and it's hitting you on that same spot.
And I would venture to guess that you're a fix-it person. You're a problem solver.
Yeah. Yes,
So,
want to solve that problem.
Now, because I was not heard, I was not seen, I was not validated with my father, I have control in this situation. So I'm definitely going to make that right. And ain't nobody going to do da, 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 da to me again. Okay. Both are extreme. So we got to find a balance here and go, okay, so let's pretend then here in this situation.
Yeah, because I want to see the NLP. I want to see you do that.
So it rises up in your brain, not heard, not seen, not valued. And it creates a sort of sense of panic in you, right? It's really rushes, veins start popping maybe, you know.
On my forehead, start pumping out.
Feel your body tense up. And instead, you know, you need to learn, if I might say, in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll just say we, because I'm humming right along with you on this.
Oh, girl, don't worry about it.
So we react instead of respond. Because what it's doing is it's hitting that knee jerk react. Instead of stepping back and going, okay, hold on, I hear you, subconscious, I hear you, you're jumping up and down because it's a trigger for you. But then allowing the conversation between the logical mind and the subconscious mind to come together that says this, okay, first of all, that ain't your daddy.
It's not your father, right?
Okay, so you don't need to treat him and give him all of this that's inside that happened before. That's not
good. That's
fair.
good.
Okay. And so what I need to do, what you need to do, what we need to do is step back and go, honey, look here. When you say that to me in that way, or something happened and it made me feel this way. So there's a disconnect. We have to disconnect the emotional part from the logical part so that we come to a place of balance.
Sure.
So that I can approach him and bring value to him.
Yeah.
Right? And it's almost like, this is where I'm really just soaring in right now, is really giving thanks to the fact that I endured what I endured. It served me during that time because it helped to create the woman that you are now.
Absolutely.
That will stand. I will stand in places now. I will speak in places now. I will go to places now that maybe before I never had the courage to do, but now I do. But the balance comes between, where is the fire being stemmed from? Is it being used as fuel to give you balance, or is it creating this reaction instead of the response? The response is the grown-ass woman in you now.
That's right.
So you can look to the little girl and go, look here, I understand. When somebody treats you, somebody says that to you, it causes this disrupt.
Sure.
Side of you. But the reason the subconscious rise up as a trigger, because it wants you to find a conclusion to it. It wants you to find balance. So you're not reacting to not only just my husband, but anybody going to come and even have a hint of that. And that's where we thank it. You serve me well because I'm strong now. And I no longer need that way of living. I'm choosing now to respond to you, husband, instead of react with this old stuff, this old gunny sack of feelings and emotions and hurts. So I can come to you with honesty and vulnerability still, because it's safe to do so. I can come to you and say, these are my feelings. Will you hold them? Will you just hold them, hear me, and then we can walk forward together.
So NLP, I just want to make sure I have the name, and I just want to ask one more question to make sure that I'm doing a full circle and buttoning it up. So NLP stands for NeuroLinguistic Programming?
Yes.
Okay. And again, so when you practice this, are you practicing this in your everyday personal life? Like, people are unaware that this is what you're doing, but you're going through this NLP process. And what you're doing in that moment, I want to know, and if I'm asking this over and over again, is I want to make sure I have a solid, clear takeaway of how to execute this in my life. So when I have the trigger,
yes,
I need to pause and ask myself, what is it that I'm really feeling here, right?
Feeling, get in touch with that part.
What am I feeling? And then also, if I sit there long enough, what I'm understanding is I'll remember why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, where it stems from, where it triggers from.
Yeah,
now,
if you don't give it validity, no one else will either.
True. Isn't that the truth? Absolutely. Absolutely.
So in that moment, see the linguistic part, okay? you say something in your mind, you're saying something to someone else, but you place a definition upon that word or phraseology.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
somebody else may have it differently.
Right.
So it's the meaning that we give to things that we're saying. Right.
So how do you come out of that? So you've acknowledged what it is, you've acknowledged what you're feeling, you've acknowledged why you feel what you feel, and now you start to describe what really is in the present, what is happening. Where do you bring that together, and how do you walk away from that being like, okay, that was helpful in my programming? What's the final click?
I think you were the perfect example of it, because in any form of communication, whether it be your spouse, be a spouse.
Yes, let's do it.
They bring out more.
I mean, so much.
But it's you said, you asked me the question. So let me understand this, or let's be clear. So it gave me the opportunity to hear what you perceived up here, for me to take that in without interrupting, take that in, because you say, what I heard you say was, right? And then I might, maybe you were off a little bit. And then I can say, well, yes, and, right? So yes, and. So I would then, readjust, well, what I really meant was this. And then you take that in and go, wow, okay, yeah, now I see. Now we're on the same page. Now we're in the same language.
Right. And you're not just speaking to my defenses or my triggers. I like that.
The thing is this, anytime communicating with anyone, when you start feeling biological things happening in your body, start thinking in your brain how to come back to what they had to say, you're not present. You're not in the moment. You're there to win. And when we're there to win, we go to opposite corners of the room. And it is no longer we. It's you versus me. Versus recognizing we're on the same team going in the same direction. So if we both come together, with what you have to say, I'm going to hold it right here. I'm going to hold it right here. Even if you don't agree with it.
Sure. You're
giving great respect and honor to the person that you're talking to or listening to, pardon me, because you're willing to hold it.
Okay, I get that.
Hold it and go, well, I hear you. And what I hear you say is A, B, and C. Right?
This is what I'm hearing.
They say yes. Because here's the deal, honey. With most women, we just want to be heard.
Yeah, most people, for sure.
Be understood. I don't really need you to agree with me.
Or fix it.
But I do need to know you're going to do this.
That's right.
Take my feelings, you're going to hold it, because you're giving me validity, you're giving me mutual respect, and you're giving me honor enough to step back, don't react, but to respond. So that means, let me just sit with that for a second. But anytime you start feeling, then we can know, guess what? You got your flesh all up in it, and it's all up here, and it's no longer here. And then it's no longer this, it's this. You go into opposite corners, and nobody wins.
So real quick, Kimberly, so NLP is something that you're really getting into, and that's evident. Can you tell us a little bit, so that it's not just this person that we don't know is telling us these steps? Why did you start looking at NLP, and how have you personally used it in your life?
Thank you. I think that's an excellent question. I think that I really got into this because one thing that I truly believe is that we all limp. We all limp. The difference is, who is it or what is it that we lean upon in the times of limping? So I started out as a little girl from a divorced family. I too had a father like that. He just did not have the tools. Didn't love me, but he didn't share the fact that he loved me till I was 16. It was the first time I ever heard it. I was never told you look pretty, or any of those things that a little girl dies for, right? We want daddy to look at us and find us beautiful, no matter
Right.
what. And so that was very difficult for me. So I carried that in, you know, to my adolescence. And then, of course, when boys noticed me, then I had control all of a sudden.
Right.
And then, you know, further on into, you know, my marriage, I was immediately connected to a narcissist.
Right.
Why? Because I didn't deal with the things that were there prior to. And unfortunately, I didn't have anybody in my life to walk this out with me and for me. And so as I got older and got into all kinds of things, you know, with my husband, he addicted to pornography, you know, 10 years into marriage, you know what I mean? Great. So there's
Right.
another wound, right?
Yeah.
So there's another affliction that I had to deal with that related all the way back to my little girl.
Right. Who's wanting to feel validated and seen by her father.
Not good
Wow.
enough, not pretty
Wow.
enough, not smart enough, all of those things, man. I
Is it
can't
pot?
marriage.
Isn't it interesting that the soul that wants that would find the one person who absolutely can't give it to her?
They're two magnets.
Yeah.
They're two magnets. And that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about, right?
Yes.
But here's the deal, and I'm going to try to make this short for you. So in the Word of God, Jacob, everybody, I think everybody's pretty familiar with this story, but Jacob wrestled with the angel of the Lord all night long.
Yep.
Okay. And what happened was God touched his hip.
No, that's all right.
My dog.
That's all right. We can hear you.
He was just saying amen in the background.
He is. There it is.
So,
Hallelujah.
So God touched his hip socket.
Yeah.
And forever, it says, you know, basically Jacob would lean on his staff and walk with a limp for the rest of his life. And at first you think, oh, that's so sad. But you know, wood in the Bible resembles humanity. It's so beautiful. I mean, Jesus died on a cross. Right? It was for humanity. So wood, forever and ever, it correlates, right? So it's like this wooden piece that Jacob leaned on was his own humanity, but it was in the shape of a shepherd's staff, right? So
that's neat. I never thought about that.
It's so beautiful how he forever would have to depend upon something else to strengthen him and allow him to walk straight. And so I think of that and I think, okay, so let's all say I limp too, right? Because this depends on what we've all been through, right? But when we have limped in such a way, we have to ask ourselves the question when these things arise, what is it or who is it that I'm leaning into? What am I depending on to help me walk straight? So I don't want to reach back to the little girl that was inside of me and the warped ways, because the question is, how's that working for you? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, for me. And so I needed to find a new, and Jesus Christ is definitely the one that I lean into and press into to help me walk straight.
So he's the staff. He's the piece of wood for you.
Absolutely.
After your hip was struck by the angel and your weak spot and your broken spot. I get that.
And the thing about it is God deems brokenness beautiful.
Yeah. And even if God didn't deem brokenness beautiful, of people who can't even understand that there is a God, brokenness is actually a part of humanity. Like, you can't get through this life without having brokenness. So then at least let me consider what maybe I should do with my brokenness, because brokenness is a matter of fact. It will happen in life.
And when we're looking at this coronavirus, right? The hype right now, everything we do, all of our discussions are all around that. You know, it's like we have to examine that, because I too thank the coronavirus in this, that it's caused families to come together. It's caused this inner circle to be strengthened. you know, to be nurtured, to be tended. Things are being dealt with that were never dealt with before, because guess what? You're face to face with each other now. So you have to ask yourself the question too, then what am I leaning into right now? Right? Because we're out of control in the sense that this virus is making an impact on the universe. It's not just here in your little house, you know? Well, what I'd love to see is I'm looking at dads coming out of their house with their kids that I've never even seen before.
Sure.
And they're playing and they're getting back to something that means something.
Sure.
Oh, and it stopped us from taking things for granted. But again, getting back to the point, I believe that, you know, these times or tragedies or pain or suffering or loss of any sort causes us to go introspective.
Has it caused you to? And if so, what's something that you're going in on right now?
Because I've had the time to right? And to be still, examine where I'm placing my feet. Okay? Where am I placing my feet? Because I'm constantly like a hummingbird going, right? And currently, you know, I'm finishing up my book, Purpose in the Pain. And so it has caused me to look at myself and say, okay, where is it that I need to be walking? And it's caused my soul to be quiet. And the Bible tells us to walk circumspectly. And when you look up the word circumspectly, it means very, very careful. Very careful, very specific placement. Okay? So if I'm to walk circumspectly, it's as if I'm walking through cacti. So if I'm placing it, I'm purposing it in my mind, where am I now? Where do I want to go?
Right.
There's nothing I can do about my past.
Right.
Nothing I can do about those choices except learn. And to examine myself, be honest with myself, carefront myself, right? And look at myself naked, warts and all, and say, what say you, Kimberly Loska? Where are you? Where are you now? Thank the past for the past.
Thank the past.
Look
I like
what
that.
you have in front of you. And
So what?
You have choices for the future.
So one of the things that I saw in your bio is that you really are committed to looking at those broken bits, those difficulties, those hardships as gifts. Yeah. So is there anything, like even small, because I don't want people to just hear like, this is what you should do. You should, you know, take your broken bits. How have you done that? What is something in your life that you're like, this was jacked, but let me tell you how it blessed me. Let me tell you how it strengthened me. I'm just trying to bring it into, give it as much, I guess, feet as possible. So it's in this moment. It's not just something that we're doing our 5 points. There's something that you have gone through for you to extrapolate and stand on this and want to give this as a truth to others.
So through the deepest parts of my pain, I really believe God gave me 3 things to do. 3 things to do that were very important to me, because when you hit rock bottom, the only way to look is up. Right?
Yep.
Sometimes he allows these things to crowd into you because he wants you to evaluate what it is you're leaning on, what it is you're looking to.
Sure.
So in the deepest parts of my pain, I knew that I had to look up. I had to look up to a force that is greater than myself, because I literally had no idea what to do. So with the pain that I sort of carried around with me, I got to that point where I had to lay it down. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't do anything about it. So I needed to look up, and I looked up to God and I said, I know that you see what's happening. And I honestly don't know where to go. I don't know what to do with my pain, you know? And the beautiful thing is, when we recognize that we no longer can control it, is the moment of release. And it is sweet release. Because don't you get tired of carrying your stuff?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And it's true. I want people, I don't want you to, I'm talking about even any little thing. Tell us something that was not pretty in its face. So here, let me share. So you understand the question I'm trying to get to. So going to boarding school. I went to boarding school in the United States of America from the age of 9. And I encountered a lot of, it was a difficult time for me in many ways. I loved boarding school. I really did. And I would do it again. But there's a lot of things that I remember like feeling. Specifically, I remember I went to very privileged white boarding schools in the Northeast of the United States of America. And I remember being a part of conversations or being in the room and people like, oh my God, Shay, you're pretty for a Black girl. Or,
that means.
I know. I'm like, really? Okay. And then I wanted to, and then, or, oh my gosh, my parents would die if I married a Black man. No offense, Shay. And so the reason I'm telling you, I'm just trying to come up something with this. These were difficult things that made me, I was in the height of puberty where I don't know my value, where I feel ugly, I feel fat. There's nothing you can do to not make me feel those things because I'm already feeling it. I feel hypersensitive and feeling like I was not a part of the abode. Here was the group and I was over here, always on the outside. So the reason why I'm telling you this particular personal experience is that was not pretty. It also was not easy. Yeah. But you know what it made me do? I am Superwoman. When I walk into a room, I know exactly the tenor and the energy of that space. And someone who is broken in that space, I will feel you and seek you out. But the reason why I now will see you is because I spent so much time there. I spent so much time occupying that space of non-inclusion that when I walk into a room, I will bring it together. So that is a perfect example for me on using something that wasn't pretty. Using something that wasn't easy, but I used it to become greater and stronger. So can you share with us a personal experience where you learned it?
Absolutely. So because I limped, right? And I'll just kind of share that adolescent part. I felt less than. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel pretty. I thought I was always the ugly duckling.
Yep.
For me, I was, olive oil. You know what I mean?
Oh, right. Little skinny legs everywhere. Yeah, I had the opposite.
No shape, honey. We're talking. One of my friends used to call me plywood. I mean, I had a lot of
things.
Not enough.
Plywood? I don't even know what that means, but it sounds so funny.
Oops.
Nothing.
I was just flat as a board. Like literally.
I love it. I love it.
The boys weren't looking at this.
They weren't. They weren't. Yeah.
No. Yeah. But what happened was literally over the summer, grew boobs. Okay.
Hey, bam. They're happy. Yeah. They're there.
The booty popping.
Nice.
So all of a sudden I stepped into this place of control.
Uh-huh.
Oh, now I'm driving the bus. You know what I mean? And during that time, I was partying, going with this guy and going with that guy and, really thinking, I have arrived.
Yes, you have. Arrived. You have the boobs and the butt to prove it.
But what happened was, because of that, I got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I got pregnant with my boyfriend and, my mom couldn't stand this guy. And so, it was just basically like, what are you talking about? I was to become a dancer. My goal was to go to Juilliard and become a Broadway singer, dancer, and actress. Like, my thing. And I was headed in that direction. So where does a baby fit in with that?
Yes.
I was, the head cheerleader. I was running track. I was all CIF. Like, I had all these things that I needed to be doing.
Right.
And my life as I knew it just, again, came to a screeching halt. And so I had an abortion because.
How old are you at this point?
16.
16? God, that is so heartbreaking for a 16-year-old girl. Oh my God. Go on.
That, as I came through it, I mean, when I went in to have, not to get real, you know.
No, this is your story. I'm asking you for it.
Yes.
Please don't edit it.
So I go in to have the abortion and they want to give me, you know, something for it. They're like, oh, it's just a blob. Don't even worry about it. It's just not even, and you know, I'm desperately seeking answers. I had no guidance going on in my life for that. I didn't know what was right, what was wrong, but you know what? Inside, there's a little voice going,
don't do this.
So I was doing self-punishment because I actually went in and told the doctor, I don't want any medication. I want to feel everything. This
At
is
16 years old.
16. And I
Wow.
did. I refused the medication and it was excruciatingly painful.
Girl, I'm a girl. I will cry on my OBGYN like yearly examination. I'm like, why are you doing this to me? So I can't even imagine.
It was awful. And I was in great pain afterwards for at least 2 days. And I was probably in one of the deepest pits emotionally for myself because
Did your parents know you were doing this?
My mom.
Your parents knew it. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't share it with my biological father because we were separated, you know, divorced. But
So at least you had some adult in your life as a support. Was she a support?
yeah, mom was always loving to me.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, during that time, back in the 1800s, during that, I was very common. And
yeah.
you just go do it because you're young.
Yeah.
But what it did is it devastated me. And as I got older, I went through counseling for it. I just could never forgive myself. It was very, very painful. So what that has allowed me to do now.
That's what I want to hear.
Is I have gone, not just with that example, but with a lot of things that I deal with women. I have definitely gone from sympathy with these women and going, oh gosh, that's awful. I'm so sorry. To empathy. Now I understand. There's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. Empathy is, you know it because you've been. That's
right.
So same as you, right? You walk in a room, I see the broken. Broken, by the way, does not mean useless.
Oh no, it's amazing. It's honestly our connecting points. My husband and I were talking. That's where we connect.
It's a place of humility and vulnerability, but it's also a launching pad for greatness.
So,
what it caused me to do now, I see these people now, and I have the ability to see in very quickly to the things that cause them to stumble and where they limp.
Yeah.
So it's caused me then to quickly be able to go in, identify the issues, and bring them tools. Because the bottom line is, when we go through various things, there's a lot of guilt or shame that's attached to all that. And with guilt and shame brings isolation. So even with our best friends, we don't want to tell them everything.
No.
Going through the deepest pain. I didn't tell anybody about my husband. I didn't tell anybody about what happened. I just felt like I can handle this on my own, you know? But that's the greatest time when you need to reach out, which is a second step. So it's looking up and it's reaching out and locking arms with other people who've walked through similar circumstances, because we're to give out the same.
And so
go ahead.
So thanks for coming, Kat. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, and this is not to minimize your experience, nor is it even to necessarily celebrate and go, oh, that was awesome, but it's to recognize the power of that. Do you think that you could be the woman you are today who finds the devastating, broken parts of people and helps them recalibrate and work towards healing if you hadn't experienced that abortion at 16?
No.
Yeah, that's the thing about it.
If I hadn't dealt with that, if I hadn't dealt with infidelity in my marriage, if I hadn't dealt with a grown child who endured a lot of drug addiction for 14 years and came out victorious, if I didn't endure, you know, the things that my husband walked me through, that was put upon me, and then in the end, unfortunately, you know, commit suicide, I could not reach into somebody's heart and give them the sense of, I'm right with you. I'm with you in this. Instead of almost feeling like you're over them, telling them, oh, it'll be okay. And, you know, we need that person who is willing to walk it out with you all the way to the finish line. All the way to the finish line, to the point then when you can honestly look at yourself in the face, in the mirror, warts and all, and say, I love you. I love you. Because we've all made mistakes.
Yeah,
you know?
That's all we do. I mean, we're
We're
very flawed.
It's how we walk through it. It's not if we're going to go through it.
Right.
How we walk through it that brings forth victory in our lives.
Kimberly, what is something right now, just pivoting a little, what is something right now in your life that you are living, experiencing, you know, that you never could have dreamed of in your young adult life? You know, because that's a part of my theory is most of our lives don't look anything like the things we fantasize them to be when we're children or wherever. They look different. So I want to know, what is something right now in your life right now that you are living that you never could have even dreamed about in your young adult life?
This might seem very simple to some, but honestly, it's the husband that God gave me at the end of all this tragedy. It's the redemption of all the ashes in my life. That I would have eyes to see him and a heart to receive him. Because he does hold my feelings. He does see me for me. He does have value and honor and respect for me.
And he's somebody that you could never have dreamed of when you were in your young adult life, nor the experience and relationship you currently have.
No.
It wouldn't have even been on the radar, right?
No, because after the divorce and everything happened with John, I was done. Honey, I was going to literally pack a small suitcase and a backpack, and I was headed to Europe for 3 months to just tour by myself. I was from life. That's what I wanted to do. So another relationship, getting married and all of that, that was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
But the comfort that has come with that, and again, I know it just seems so simplistic, but
no, it doesn't. These are the answers.
Anybody out there, that there is a pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow. There is a pot of gold for you, but you have to persevere, you have to press in, you have to do the work and have courage. You got to find that courage. And sometimes, as I've said, you know, my voice was stolen for many, many years, you know, in my life. And now I am a voice until you find your voice again. I help you rediscover you, to celebrate you. And again, it's okay that we all have wounds. It's okay that we limp. It's okay that there's been awful, awful things. Some things are far worse in other people's lives than what I ever endured. But your perception is your reality. So it's good to be able to find somebody, which, you know, for myself, you know, I call myself a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a heart coach. You know,
heart coach. I like that.
like I want to help you dust off the things that you thought you would never, ever see.
Mm-hmm.
You thought you'd never experience, you know, but sometimes it just takes that other person to come and sharpen your sword with you, you know, and to take that light bulb that's kind of dusty and murky from the surroundings and wipe it off gently, you know, so that it can shine brightly again. And the thing is, shine brightly as it always was intended to.
Yes.
That's my candy store, people. That is a gift. That is a gift to be a part of that process with people. It's amazing.
It is amazing. So I only have 2 quick little questions to leave. And I really appreciate so much of you taking this time to speak with us. I call these little fireside chats. I just want to inject some love and light into people's everyday. So I used to watch Inside the Actors Studio, and I loved this show with James Lipton. I loved it, loved it, loved it.
Yeah.
And he would always ask a few questions, same question at the end. So I just like to know, what sound or noise do you love?
Ooh, golly. Okay, the sound would be a trumpet.
Ooh.
Because it's triumphant. It hearkens what's coming. It declares what's coming.
Uh-huh. I love it. What sound or noise do you hate?
Probably a scratching.
Yeah, I hate that too.
Stand
the
out.
worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst. It makes my teeth feel like
That's it.
they're on the edge.
It's repelling.
If, you know, I'm going to ask the less deep one right this second. I'm going to end with a deeper one. What's your favorite curse word?
I would say shit.
That is a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It has so many usages.
Yes.
If heaven exists.
No, it does.
And we do believe that we do.
Yeah.
But what do you hope God says to you when you get there?
Okay. So I have an imagery. I'm very visual.
Give it to us.
I am so visual that I probably should have been a man because I'm that visual. But I think the imagery that I always see is this. And I'll just lend it to you and to your audience. I envision him waiting for me. And he just has a glow about him that just radiates with such good pleasure when he sees me.
That's it.
I visualize myself in a white party dress.
Go ahead, girl. Hello. Yes.
Party dress. And
yes.
I sort of open it up and show him my dress. And he's so excited to see me. He's so happy that I finally embraced who he created me to be.
Yes.
And that I've shown up in that totality before him.
Does he say anything?
Yes. And he cups my face, brings me close to his face. He kisses my forehead and presses me into his bosom and says, "Well done."
Oh, that is beautiful. That's beautiful. I appreciate this time so much with you.
You too. I love
you, Kimberly. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Kimberly, I am going to save this so that people can watch it. It will be in perpetuity on IGTV. I'll save it there. And I just thank you so much for shining a little light in people's lives right now. We're just having these fireside chats. Bye, Kimberly.
Love you.